Hi everyone and welcome to my very first vlog. Today I'm in the Highlands of Scotland and I'm near a place called Loch Aniley, which is a really nice loch, and I'm just exploring the surrounding area. It's quite hilly, quite a climb, but I'm out to do some landscape photography, explore the area. It's a really nice day and hopefully find some nice compositions. So come with me and see what I can find. So I found my first composition. I've come up the hill quite a lot. It's been quite a steep climb, and off in the distance round about here there's a very nice snowy mountain. The sun is just catching the side of it, and then lower down, which is going to be the bottom right of my frame, is a hill with some nice trees on it, and they're a very dark contrast against the snowy sunlit mountain. So I'm hoping this is going to be a good shot. It's quite windy up here, so hopefully you can hear me okay, but I'm going to go and get set up for this shot before the light changes. So that was my first shot of the day. I hope you liked it, and it was actually quite a challenging shot. I'm just moving on up this hill now. It's quite a tough climb this, but I'll do my best to talk as I move up here. But it was a challenging shot for a number of reasons. One, I was actually on a very steep slope, had to stand out on some rocks to get that shot, and I couldn't really use the tripod. There was nowhere to set it up. And the other thing was overhanging tree branches which were coming in from the top of the frame and the bottom. So positioning was everything in that shot. Trying to eliminate the tree branches but also keep the composition the way I wanted it. And the other issue I had was lens flare. The sun is quite bright. You can probably just see it in my face there. And try to keep that out of the shot as well while hand holding was quite challenging. So I think it's going to be worth it though. I think that's going to be a really good shot. So I've been walking up the hill a bit more and I found this really nice cairn which I stumbled across. I'm going to show you that in the video. I'm taking some shelter from the wind because it's really windy up here, so hopefully the microphone is doing an okay job. But this composition, I'm going to have the cairn. There's really nice scenery all around, and although it's nice scenery, it's quite hard to frame a good composition. But I think I've found something. I'm going to have a nice line of trees at the bottom right of the frame which come in a diagonal, and they sort of balance the image. So that's what I'm going to set up and take now. So it really is a nice day, and there's lots of photo opportunities, some nice compositions, but I try to limit myself when I'm out. Otherwise you could just take literally 100 photos and get some that you're not too happy with. I prefer just to get a few images that I'm really happy with. But as I walk along here, I'm going over some quite rough terrain. I thought I'd talk a little bit about being a colorblind photographer. And many people may assume if you're colorblind you couldn't be a photographer or you couldn't see colour. So I just want to talk very briefly about that and my own situation. So you could probably summarise me as being red-green colorblind. Now I can see red and green. A post box looks really red, grass looks really green, but some shades of those two colours, and indeed other colours, may look similar to me. But it's not as bad as you may imagine. When I look at a nice scene, such as the scenery here, I'm pretty confident that I see more or less the same scene as non-colourblind people would. The only difference is that where a non-colourblind person could name each colour and be positive what it is, although I see the colours, in some cases I might not be able to name them with 100% certainty. And in some cases as well, if there are shades which are similar, like I just talked about, I might see them as being quite similar, where other people would see them as really standing out. So I just found 3 interesting trees that were slightly side lit, and I just took a quick shot handheld because I didn't think the lighting was going to improve, and as I walk up the hill here I can see the light is slightly better, so I'm hoping to get a nice shot as the sun begins to set. But that's a good thing about landscape photography. Today I've took 3 shots so far, one handheld with a 70-200, the other one on my tripod 24-70mm, and that one handheld with a 24-70mm. So you just got to adapt to conditions. The conditions there would have been okay for a tripod, but the ground's quite soft, a lot of heather, so it wouldn't have been that stable. I don't have spikes or anything in my tripod, but took it handheld. Hopefully it's a decent shot, but as I say, I want to keep going up this hill, and I'll get back to having a little talk about being colourblind as a photographer. So as you can see, I made it to the top. It's extremely windy, it's extremely cold, and the sun is beginning to set, but it's behind some cloud at the moment. So I've got some ideas for an image in mind. As I say, I like to pretty much just take a small number of images. There's lots of possibilities up here, but I've seen something that's caught my interest and seems to be above all the other options up here. So while I'm waiting for the sun to hopefully come out for me and get a nice sunset type image, I'll talk a little bit more about being colourblind. So I touched on that coming up the hill, and for my own photography style, when I take a nice scene, I like to remember in my head how that scene looked at the time, how the light was, how the colours are, and when I go home into post-processing I like to try and reproduce that image. I'm not a huge fan of HDR. I do it occasionally when I think an image suits it, but I like to capture a moment in time, and that's how I like to approach my photography, capturing moments in time that I saw with my own eyes. And I've no problem recreating the colour balance at home, the tones, the saturation, to match what I saw when I actually took an image. And I'm quite fortunate because 10% of males are actually colourblind, and my colour blindness is quite minor. So as I say, it's just minor issues. Some shades may look similar, but I see very vivid colours, and I'm probably quite fortunate in that respect. Also with modern digital cameras, they're so good at capturing colour, it's a very minor issue if it is even one. You can also use things like colour charts, and that helps you get your image set correctly in terms of colour. You can also use software to identify particular colours in images if you're unsure what they are. So my own colour blindness is quite minor, and I really don't feel it affects my photography at all. Out of thousands of images I've taken, I've only had an issue in one, and I always get my images checked, and the person checking noticed a tiny bit of red lens flare that I hadn't actually noticed myself, but it was so easy to fix, and that's out of thousands of images. I always get my images checked. An extra pair of eyes is a good thing, even if you're not colourblind. And it's not really an issue to me at all, so I feel quite fortunate, and I hope this encourages anyone who is colourblind. There's varying levels of colour blindness, but don't give up if you want to do photography. You may find you really enjoy it and it's not much of an issue at all. So with that said, I'm now going to go off and brave the elements. I hope it's not affecting the audio too much, but it is really wild up here, and unfortunately on top of a hill there is no shelter. So I'm going to go and frame my next image, set up my composition and wait for the lighting to be as I want it and take the shot. So apologies if there is very little or no audio in the next section. It is just far too windy, but I'll put up the image that I take and I hope you enjoy it. I'm just going to head back now. The sun is almost set and I've got a fair hike back to the car, and it's going to be pretty dark on the way back down, I think. So I'm pretty pleased with the shots. I hope you enjoy them. I've not used any filters or anything today, if you're wondering, mainly due to the high wind conditions. It's been quite challenging for photography, quite challenging for vlogging as well, but I hope you've enjoyed my first vlog in this amazing place, the Highlands of Scotland, and I hope to see you again for another one.